going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode, the first ever episode of Primitive Cooking. This episode, we are going to be focusing on something called Korean Army Stew, or Budae Jjigae. And so the idea behind this is that it's a very easy thing to do, and me being an idiot, I need meals that are very easy to make, and the idea behind this is to make a meal prep out of it. Something that I can take on the go when I'm at work, and it's something that's easy for me to make, and it's easy for you guys to make as well. It's not something traditional, and it's something that I've only tried to make once before, but it was so good. And my immediate thought was I have to make this as a meal prep, so I wanted to show you guys a very easy meal prep. Anybody can do it with very simple ingredients. So let's get into the ingredients. So the first ingredient that you're going to want is some kind of bone broth. I got this organic kettle and fire chicken broth, but you can get any kind of chicken broth you want. Number one reason why I got this is, well, one, it's organic, so it's a little bit healthier. But then the second reason is you can also see per 1 cup is 10 grams of protein, which is a lot more than your traditional chicken broth. You'll probably find that it's closer to like 4 grams. So I just went with this for the extra protein. Now for the meats, it doesn't call for any kind of chicken. One of the things that I swapped out was I swapped Spam for chicken just because it's a little bit healthier, and I also decided to go with the thigh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on high heat on a pan and just get it nice and brown, and then we'll chop it up and put it into the soup. Now one of the ingredients that it actually does call for is beef franks. You'll notice that in a lot of like the photos of Korean Army stew, it actually has like a red coating to the beef franks, but these are pretty much the only ones that I could find. Still should do the trick. Let's move on to the next thing. First kind of mushrooms that the recipe will call for is Shiitake mushrooms. I have about 100 grams here, and then the other mushrooms that it calls for are oyster mushrooms. Ramen is another one that the recipe calls for. I'm not entirely sure how much. I'm going to be doing 2 packs. I don't go with the traditional ramen because they put in so many unwanted additives. At least with this, it's a little bit healthier. The protein is actually higher in this, or the protein content in this is higher as well. So overall, I think that this is just a healthier option. I'm not endorsed by any of these people, by the way, but if anyone wants to hit me up, by all means. Now, traditionally, our Korean Army stew will call for yellow American cheese. I am not a fan of American cheese. I know that probably comes off as blasphemy for a lot of people, but I genuinely enjoy sharp cheddar, so I'm going to be swapping out yellow American cheese for sharp cheddar. Green onions, need I say more? Kimchi Sauerkraut is something that I was struggling to find in the grocery store. I just happened to come upon this one in the jarred goods section. And so this is basically what I'm going to be going with. The ingredients on kimchi are pretty straightforward. You got cabbage, red bell peppers, water, onion, sea salt, ginger root, cayenne pepper, mustard seed, and chili pepper and lactic acid. So pretty simple. I've never tried this before, so we're gonna see how it tastes. So yeah. Now for the sauce, the recipe calls for rice wine vinegar, soy sauce, but I go with coconut liquid aminos just because it's healthier, it's easier for your body to digest. If you don't know, soy sauce is very difficult for your body to digest, so don't consume it. Korean chili sauce, minced garlic. It also calls for Korean red flakes or chili flakes, but I don't have any, and I couldn't find any in my store, so I'm going to be substituting that with red pepper, just a little bit of black pepper, and then just a touch of sugar. So that is going to be it for the sauce. Let's get into assembling our ingredients. Alright, so for the sauce, the first thing that it calls for is 2 tablespoons of red pepper, but I have a severe intolerance to spicy food. I wish I had a better tolerance, but I get some gnarly heartburn from it, so we're only going to be doing 1 tablespoon red pepper. Next is our rice wine vinegar. So we're going to be doing 2 tablespoons of rice wine. 1 tablespoon soy. 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to be doing 1/4 of a tablespoon of chili paste. 1 sprinkle of black pepper. 1 tablespoon minced garlic. And we're just gonna mix this bad layer together. So the first thing you want to do is chop up anything that needs to be prepared chopping wise. So you're just going to take your scallions and cut them at an angle just to make it look a little bit more interesting. We'll cut them at this kind of a degree, and that'll just give it an interesting shape. And what's interesting about Korean army stew is that the appearance of it is very interesting. A lot of what makes Korean army stew appealing is that it's very visually appealing. It looks delicious, the colors are beautiful, the shapes of the foods are beautiful, and that's one of the bigger appeals of Korean army stew. So the next thing we're going to prepare are the beef franks. So you want to again cut it at an angle, just to again give it a little bit more of a visual appeal. So all we're going to do is we'll cut it at an angle, roll it about 1/4, cut it again, roll 1/4, and then just rinse and repeat. And that's going to give you some interesting angles or different cuts to the beef. It's not like we're enhancing the flavor by doing this, but it's just gonna make it look a little bit more interesting. You know what I mean? You cut these boring little cuts into it, and that's just kind of lame, and it's not as visually appealing, and that's what we're going for with this. Even though I don't particularly know what I'm doing and I'm just winging it, that's the whole point of this series, is that you don't know what you're doing and I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the beauty of it. We're gonna do it together. All right, so next thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna brown our chicken just a little bit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our cast iron pan nice and super hot. We're gonna add a generous amount of butter, and we are going to butter up our unseasoned pan. I won't get into why it's not seasoned. It may involve certain other people that also use this pan that have ruined my seasoning to the pan, but anyways, so we're gonna get this butter on here nice and generously distributed throughout the entire pan. And then we are going to add, I would say, probably 3 or 4 chicken breasts or chicken thighs. So we'll add, I'm thinking we'll add 3 for now, because I don't want to overdo it. I haven't made this with chicken before, so I don't want to just overpower the entire meal with just the chicken. So make sure you move it around just a little bit so that it doesn't stick to the pan, but it might stick either way just because of the current situation of my pan. But the other thing that I would like to do is I'm going to add a pinch of salt. So we'll just take it and season it lightly with some salt. And I figured I'd add some salt because salt is always tasty. And we're replacing the Spam with chicken like I mentioned before. And Spam is often very, very salty. So we'll just add that extra salt onto the chicken just to replicate our Spam. So if the pan has been on high heat, you're probably only going to want these on for about 1.5 to 2 minutes per side. And this is really all we're looking for, is just this kind of a brown look to our chicken. It's going to help seal in the flavor when we go to add it to our stew. Now I was thinking about it, and chicken is going to cook a lot longer than most of the other things that we're going to be putting in our stew. And so you're going to want to pretty much cook the chicken all the way through. So we're going to leave it on for a couple more minutes per side just to make sure that everything's cooked through, because at the end of the day, when we go to actually assemble our stew is only going to take about 12 minutes to make. So the very last thing that we're going to do before we assemble our stew is we're just going to chop up our chicken. I'm going to be careful here because it's still pretty damn hot, but we're just going to chop it up into consistent chunks. probably about the same sizes as the hot dogs. So we'll probably put it about there. And if you'll notice, it's pretty well cooked through. It's not totally cooked just yet. You can still see that there's maybe an ever so slight amount of pink in there, but that's okay because we're still going to be cooking it at a boil for about 12 minutes. So that's gonna really complete the chicken, and it's not it's not going to overcook the chicken either, which is the beauty of the amount of cooking that we did on our pan. All right, guys, it is officially time to add all of our ingredients together. So one of the things that usually the recipe calls for is a nice thin but wide bowl to cook our stew in, and most of us don't have that. All we have is these regular, I just swore, these regular pots that we can't use. It's not allowed, but we're gonna do it anyways because we're about rule breaking in this one. So the first thing that it calls for is we're going to take our sauce and we're going to nice and gently put it in the center of the pan. And then we are going to add our broth around the edge of the pot. Oh, it's all mixing together. Who would have thought? This is one of those whatever moments, we're gonna keep going. So next we're gonna add our other bit of broth. And the total amount of broth that I'm using is 4 cups. Next we shall add our beef franks. Our chicken. Our mushrooms. And our kimchi. I'm not really sure how much kimchi you're supposed to add, but I'm just kind of winging it. So the only ingredients that you're not going to assemble just yet is the ramen, the green onions, and the cheese. So we're gonna bring this bad Larry to a boil and then we're going to boil it for 8 minutes, and then we will add the rest of the ingredients for 3 minutes, and we will be done. All right, so there's nothing else to do but to give this a shot. So let's see what it tastes like. Now the key is to get everything equally distributed. I got a little bit of chicken, I got a little bit of mushrooms, and I got some beef frankfurt and everything else. So it's good to get a good mix in there before you serve it. And so let's give it a first bite. It's already spicy. I think I did half the ingredients for everything that was spicy in here. It's still pretty damn spicy. So beware of that. If you like spicy, this is for you, because it definitely has a kick to it. Everything blends together surprisingly well. I could taste the hot dog with the chicken, and it just kind of like combined itself together with the spiciness. The consistencies are more or less similar. Let's get a bite with the mushrooms in it as well. Everything is surprisingly the same consistency. Everything's got like the same amount of like chewiness to it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's very good. It was very easy to make. You don't have to be a genius to make this. And it's almost like comfort food. It really is. Like, this is something that you would make, like, you get home from work, you're tired, you don't really want to go too crazy on cooking anything, and so you make this, you lay in bed, you watch some Netflix, and you eat this, and that is a way to finish the night. This is very good. I will say, though, as a meal prep, this is definitely going to be also very good. I think it's going to be very easy. As someone that works at a hospital, all I can do is put food in the microwave, and so this is very microwavable. The chicken is a great substitute for the Spam, and the noodles just kind of bring it all together and make it like a Korean style meal. I don't even taste the cheese. The spices have blend together incredibly well. All in all, I would give this probably a 7.5 out of 10. Very easy to make, very tasty, and it's idiot proof. It really is. Anybody can make this. So I highly recommend that you get out there and you make something like this. If you've made it to this point in the video, I genuinely appreciate it. Being a very small YouTuber, every like, every view alone is a huge thing for me. It means the world to me. Making these videos has been very fun for me, and I look forward to improving my videos and making them better, and just building off of what I've created today. So if you made it to this point, thank you so much. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.